The air hung thick and heavy in the cramped bar. A dozen species drank from mugs filled with mixtures foul and sweet, bitter and sour, and none good for the patron drinking them. Dim lights reflected dully from eyes and mandibles and faceplates. Keswick slid onto a bar stool next to an imposing Snixian, an avian species over 2.5 meters in height, with terrifying talons and a brutal beak, all designed to tear and rend. Keswick barely came up to the Snixian's chest, coming from a smaller mammalian lineage whose evolutionary history was based on hiding from threats, choosing flight over fight. "You look new here," Keswick said after ordering. The bartender passed him a small glass of dark green liquid. The Snixian looked down his beak at the small creature who was sharing the bar with him. "I am," the Snixian said, his deep voice full of disdain. Keswick sipped his drink gingerly. "Ah," he said, wiping his dainty mouth. "I thought as much. Passing through?" "No," the Snixian said, his back ramrod straight, eyes locked straight ahead. "Oh, looking to stay?" With a sigh, the Snixian said, "Looking to settle, if you must know."
A new neighbor! How exciting! There are many wonderful homesteads to the west of town, wonderful developments, vibrant communities. We're expanding every day, Keswick said. "I will not be living there," the Snixian said. "Ah, more of an urban dweller. Well, the east side of town is near the ports, so it's a bit crowded and noisy. The central core is governmental, and there's a small art scene in the southern part of the city. Now, if you're—" "I will not be living in the city," the Snixian said. "And you bother me, prey animal." Keswick snapped his eyes back to his drink and stared downwards for a moment. "I see," he said, his voice hushed and low. The Snixian took a slow pull from his drink and glanced down at Keswick, who looked for all the world like he was trying to sink into the bar top. The Snixian raised an eyebrow. "Bora," he said. "My name is Bora." His voice had softened, but only just. Keswick turned to face him and said, "A pleasure to meet you, Bora." "I mustered out of the military last month," Bora said, "and am not yet accustomed to civilian life. I do not find cities and crowds appealing. I apologize for my tone." "Oh, think nothing more of it, my friend," Keswick said, a smile spreading across his face. "Have you decided on a likely place yet?"
Bora clicked his beak once as he was deciding whether to reply or not. "Yes," he said eventually. "There is a mountain range some 30 kilometers from the city. I shall make my home on the lower slope of one of the mountains." 30 kilometers, you say? Would this perhaps be roughly north and west of our fair city? Keswick looked down and picked at the bar as he spoke, avoiding Bora's eyes. "Roughly, yes," Bora replied. "A small lake in a green valley near these mountains?" "I believe there may be a lake, yes," Bora said. Keswick drained his glass in one hurried gulp. "You cannot live there, my new friend. I am sorry." Bora shot up from the bar stool in a flash. "Who are you to tell me where I may make my home?" The bar fell silent as the giant Snixian roared his question. "I am no one," Keswick said, "but I would like to be your friend." Bora laid a heavy and taloned hand on Keswick's shoulder. He spun the smaller being around and glared into his tiny eyes. Keswick could feel Bora's hot breath roll over him. "I do not wish for friends," Bora said.
"I wish for respect and solitude, but I will settle for fear and avoidance. I will honor your wishes, friend Bora, but you must not build your home near that valley." Keswick squeaked out. His bowels threatened to let loose at any moment, and he could feel sour bile rising at the back of his throat. "I will do as I please," Bora yelled. He stood up and surveyed the room. "What's going on?" Jess, the local peace officer, had entered the bar. One of the patrons had scurried out as soon as Boris started up and caught the container. "This pitiful, weak, miserable shell of a creature is trying to tell me where I can and cannot build my home," Bora yelled. "That don't sound like Keswick," Jess said. "He's usually pretty friendly." "Keswick?" "My, new friend here, Bora, was, talking about building his home," Keswick stammered out. "And you offered opinions?" Jess asked. Keswick nodded yes. "Did you tell him about the homesteads west of town?" Bora erupted. "I will not live krill to cloaca with 1,000 other creatures. Never again." Jess nodded. "Well, there's plenty of spaces out. I will build my home on the slopes of the mountains to the north and west," Bora yelled. Jess said, "Oh, I see." He looked to Keswick, who was trying to make himself as small and easily overlooked as possible. "Did you tell him?" "I was about to, but he, had issues with hearing my advice." "Advice? You worthless piece." "It's called Terror Valley," Jess said. Bora stopped short. "Your local legends do not concern me," he said. "The last 8 homesteaders that went up that way never came back," Jess said. "We found the bodies of a couple of them, eventually. The rest, well, they were just gone." "Fools and weaklings will always find a way to die," Bora said. "I'll make my home where I please." Jess shrugged. "No law gets that," he said. "But there are laws against brawling and being a public nuisance, so I'm going to have to ask you to settle down or leave this establishment." Bora glanced around briefly and saw the whole room staring at him. While he was certain he could take any one or maybe even 2 of them in a fight, he knew he couldn't take all of them if it came to that. He saw Jess's hand casually resting on a small but angry-looking sidearm. He saw Keswick keeping his head down and ready to bolt at a moment's notice. Bora turned back to the bar momentarily, slammed the rest of his drink back, then turned back to Jess and the front door. "Fine," he said. "Might as well get started on my new home." He strode out of the bar with his head high. Keswick let out a breath he'd been holding for several long minutes. "That was tense," he said, half to his drink and half to himself. "Keswick," Jess said, "what the hell were you thinking?" "I was being friendly." "You know those Snixians are high-strung," Jess said, sitting down next to Keswick. "He seemed nice enough at first." "You mean before you started talking to him?" "Well, yeah." "So what's his story?" "He said he just got out of the military and was looking to homestead," Keswick said. "I offered several likely places, then, well, you heard." "Military?" Jess asked. "Did he say if he was in the war?" "He didn't say, but he must have been, right?" "Must have been." "And he's going up to the valley?" "I tried to warn him," Keswick screeched. "So did you." "Yeah," Jess said, looking back at the door Bora had left through. "Guess that'll bring us to 9 bodies here shortly." Do you think we should have spelled it?" Jess turned back to Keswick. A creature like that, in the situation he was in, he wouldn't have listened anyway. He'd have thought it makes him look weak. If anything, he'd have run off even faster. "Still," Keswick said, "it always sounds like Terror, and that's what everyone hears. Maps all show it as Teraa, though." Jess said, He goes up there and finds that crazy old human, he'll learn soon enough.